I want to move to another topic. Justice Alito, there's controversy, if you call it that, from the New York Times saying that at his beach house, he flew a flag called the Appeal to Heaven flag. This flag has a historical meaning. It goes back to George Washington, the Revolutionary War. It is based on John Locke's second treatise. John Locke, obviously a founder of the Enlightenment, someone widely respected. In fact, this became the naval flag in Massachusetts in 1776. What's the controversy here? Am I missing something?
All right, my friends, J.R. Dukes with you once again. Appreciate you joining me. I want to give a quick shout out to all my free-minded friends. Nice to have you back once again. Folks, got another great video for you today. We're going to be talking about yet another ongoing so-called scandal involving sitting Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito. Folks, these woke Democrats, these woke individuals, they just don't give up. And I'm going to tell you exactly what is going on in this particular situation. First, I want to tell you exactly what we're talking about. On your screen on the right-hand side here, you'll see an Appeal to Heaven flag. Basically, it's a flag that's got a pine tree on this particular flag. Now, you have these woke Democrats going absolutely crazy, saying Justice Samuel Alito should resign because he had apparently this flag allegedly flying outside one of his beach houses. Well, what exactly is this so-called an Appeal to Heaven flag? Let's take a quick peek at it. On your screen is a article from Wikipedia, and we're just going to briefly go through this. The pine tree flag, it's also called an Appeal to Heaven flag, was one of the flags used during the American Revolution. The flag, which featured a pine tree with the motto, an appeal to heaven, or less frequently, an appeal to God, was originally used by a squadron of 6 frigates. Now, a frigate is essentially one of these old-timey ships. They're on your screen right there. Commissioned under George Washington, of course, our founding father, as commander-in-chief of the Continental Army, October 1776. The pine tree is a traditional symbol of New England. The phrase appeal to heaven appears in John Locke's second treatise of government, where it is used to describe the right of revolution. And remember, John Locke, he's like the father of liberalism, the father of free thought, the Enlightenment. It goes on to say the flag is the official maritime insignia of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, though the script was removed in 1971. It was used by state Navy vessels in addition to privateers sailing from Massachusetts. Now, recently, this flag kind of fell out of fashion until 2020 when it allegedly, again, this is the legacy media saying all this, as reported and written down here in Wikipedia, was used allegedly by supporters of President Donald Trump among a religious strand of the Stop the Steal campaign. And by 2024, the Associated Press reported that the pine tree flag had become appropriated as a banner of the far right. They always take anything and everything and try to stretch it into something that it is not. So let's go ahead and take a look at today's video, and I got some thoughts, and I'm going to tell you exactly what is going on.
I want to move to another topic. Justice Alito, there's controversy, if you call it that, from the New York Times saying that at his beach house, he flew a flag called the Appeal to Heaven flag. This flag has a historical meaning. It goes back to George Washington, the Revolutionary War. It is based on John Locke's second treatise. John Locke, obviously a founder of the Enlightenment, someone widely respected. In fact, this became the naval flag in Massachusetts in 1776. What's the controversy here? Am I missing something?
Yeah, Kaylee, this is just another partisan smear against Justice Alito because he's an outstanding justice who upholds the Constitution and the laws as it's written. He doesn't bow to left-wing pressure. He's under no obligation to recuse from cases because of the flag his wife flies. And for that matter, I want to say that Martha Ann Alito is a great patriot. I commend her for flying a patriotic flag that goes back to George Washington. For that,
of course, Justice Alito is a sitting U.S. Supreme Court justice on the U.S. Supreme Court. And remember, right now, you have these very important cases involving Donald Trump. The Supreme Court is poised to come back any day now with a decision in favor of former President Donald Trump, essentially stating on some level, on some way, that the former president, or any president for that matter, has immunity from prosecution for their official acts. The Democrats Democrats know this is coming down the pike, and they are not happy about it. So they are essentially doing anything and everything in their power to embarrass this judge and harass this judge into essentially recusing himself, trying to whittle down the chances that former President Donald Trump will be able to essentially dismiss all of these outrageous lawfare cases that have been coming at him ever since he announced his run for presidency of the United States for 2024.
I think I'm going to start flying it outside of my office here in the Senate. And if you want to look at judges who have recusal problems, why don't we look at Judge Merchan in New York, who's presiding over the sham trial of President Trump, who did nothing wrong. Not only is his daughter raising money off of the trial over which he's presiding for Democratic hatchet men like Adam Schiff, he himself contributed money to Joe Biden, violating New York judicial ethics rules. He's the one that should be recusing from cases, but you don't hear the Democrats or the New York Times demanding that Judge Merchan recuse from that case because they want to weaponize the justice system against the president. And if they can do it to President Trump, they can do it to any Republican or conservative across the country.
No, that is exactly it, folks. What is going on here is essentially this continued lawfare and basically a harassment to try to get these Republicans to do what they've been doing for some time. It's essentially a goading by the Democrats to get them to recuse themselves, get them to resign. Look what they did to George Santos. Even though he was never convicted of a crime, they went ahead and expelled him from Congress. It was an absolute unprecedented move. And right now, the Republicans only have a one vote majority holding them in power of the House of Representatives. And it's the Republicans' own fault. They take this bait. They get goaded into doing things that's unprecedented, things they should do. And then, of course, when the shoe was on the other foot, so to speak, remember this guy from New York, he went ahead and pulled the fire alarm to try to stop Congress because he did not like the way a vote on a particular bill was going. Well, that individual, Jamal such and such, if you know who he is, put him in the comments below for me, please. He essentially just got a scolding, a reprimand, whatever you want to, a censure from the Congress, and he paid a small fine, and that was the end of it. They did not kick him out of Congress like they did George Santos. Also, you have current sitting Senator Bob Menendez, who is literally in trial as I speak for crimes involving treason, Egypt, whatever. He has some very serious crimes that he's accused of. Have they pushed him out of the Senate? No, they have not. He's still an active sitting senator in the Senate. Outrageous, folks. As Republicans, we got to get it together, and we can't take the bait from these Democrats. Just because they try to embarrass us or they try to say, hey, you must do this, and they bring pressure to bear, and we have these CNN network and this legacy media essentially 24/7 drilling it down that something has to be done. We have to learn to push back and say enough. We're not going to take it. We're not going to stand for it.
Instead, the New York Times and Rolling Stone, they appear to be far more interested in Christians. New York Times, one of the qualms with this flag is it's someone who views that their faith is instrumental in their life. In Rolling Stone, you talk about flying a flag outside of your office. Check this out. The key to Mike Johnson's Christian extremism hangs outside his office because Mike Johnson flies the same flag, and a spokesperson for Mike Johnson says this was given to him by a pastor. So that's problematic now, too, being a Christian in government.
Well, for the left and for Joe Biden, yes, it is. I mean, his own Department of Justice has targeted, for instance, traditional Catholics who've been going to masses that they disapprove of. It's just another example of how Joe Biden and the Democrats have weaponized our government, used it against their political opponents like President Trump, and something that you expect to see in countries like Pakistan and Georgia, not the United States. And again, if it works with Donald Trump, they're going to do it to any American who believes in things like flying a flag that George Washington designed, or making an appeal to heaven for our country, which millions of Bible-believing Christians do every single day.
You know, I'm interested in the timing of these attacks on Justice Alito, because one references a flag flown more than 4 years ago. One references a flag flown more than 1 year ago. And all of a sudden, this comes out just now. Your colleague, Senator Ted Cruz, has an idea, theory as to...
This is the point of this video, what they're about to get into, and we're going to talk about it because this is exactly why this is coming up now. This is no coincidence, folks. There's a reason this is going on right now, and we're getting into it.
Why? Listen to this.
This is all about trying to delegitimize the court. The Democrats, almost every Democrat in the Senate,
exactly.
If they win, they want to pack the Supreme Court. They want to grow the Supreme Court from 9 justices to 13 justices.
I thought the left respected our institutions. Is this really about attacking an institution, a third of our government?
That Kayleigh, the left has been attacking the Supreme Court for years since it's had a center-right majority. I think specifically why now the Supreme Court is considering two cases, both of which affect Donald Trump and hundreds of January 6 defendants. The first case is a case in which the Supreme Court, I suspect, will find that presidents of any party have to have presidential immunity to some degree from criminal prosecution. That could shut down the cases against Donald Trump. A second case is about the Department of Justice under Joe Biden stretching laws to the breaking point to prosecute hundreds of January 6 defendants for crimes that are not really what Congress intended. Both of those cases are going to come down in the next month. I suspect the New York Times and Democrats are once again targeting Justice Alito because they want to undermine the court's credibility.
I think you're spot on. I think they probably are not too thrilled that he authored the Dobbs opinion as well. Did they ever find the leaker? No, I guess they're not looking for that anymore. Senator Cotton, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kayleigh.
You know, Shannon, you are well sourced in the Supreme Court. I'm curious what the latest is.
So I talked to Justice Alito, last week about the situation of the flag at their home. I reached also out to them about the beach house flag to try to get some more information. I think we'll have more on that shortly this afternoon. But I think, Senator Cotton points out a good point that it's fine as press to ask questions and to do stories, but to do them equally, I think, is very important as well. We had a Ninth Circuit judge who, in the midst of a same-sex marriage case there in California, which led to the Obergefell decision at the Supreme Court, his wife was the director of a group that signed on to a couple of legal briefs in that case. He didn't recuse. He said her views are her own. They don't condition anything that I do or what I decide. So I'd say just let's have the same standard in looking at all of these stories.
Interesting. That's a really analogous comparison. Yeah. Thank you, Shannon.
Folks, so this is what's going on right now in our politics, in our courts, in our political system. And we have to be made aware of it so we don't get distracted when they start screaming that things are unfair. You have former President Donald Trump right now in New York City. He's being tried by a judge who is clearly a Democratic partisan. His own daughter is currently working for President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and Adam Schiff out of California. And we all know what former President Donald Trump calls Adam Schiff. I'm sure you understand this. Yet, despite the fact that his daughter has grossed at least $93 million on behalf of Democrats, so she's just not a Democratic worker, she's a Democratic embedded operative, and she is grossing tons of money for the Democrats, and she is in cahoots with her dad, Judge Merchant. Remember, you're not supposed to even have the appearance of impropriety. Did that stop Judge Merchant from going ahead and persecuting former President Donald Trump? Did he recuse himself? You know he didn't. The Democrats always try to have things one way, and then they try to impose their will on us an opposite way, and we have to call it out for what it is. It's nothing but hypocrisy, and you and I should not stand for it under any circumstances. What I believe is going on right now, and this is the meat of what we're talking about, is basically what you heard Senator Ted Cruz say. I believe this whole situation right now is nothing short of a pretext by the Biden administration as leverage, as a reason to move forward and what they call pack the court. Now, what is packing the court? Essentially, the Constitution does not state specifically that the president is limited to only 9 justices on the U.S. Supreme Court. So what the President Biden I'm talking about, wants to do is add another 4 Democrats to the court because they are not happy with the rulings that are coming out of the court right now. This has been tried before in American history. As a matter of fact, President Joe Biden has already tried this earlier in his administration, but was not successful. So essentially, this is nothing more than a pretext, number one, to get Alito off the case and try to change the upcoming vote that is about to come down pertaining to former President Donald Trump and the so-called January 6ers. Additionally, President Biden is using this along with his Democratic cohorts to pack the court. Make no mistake about it, that's what they're trying to do. That's all the more reason we must vote this upcoming November. It is so important, folks. When they say democracy is on the line, it is on the line, but it has nothing to do with Donald Trump. It has everything to do with these woke Democrats, and you and I should not stand for it. My friends, if you have family members that are indoctrinated, do me a favor, do yourself a favor, do our country a favor, forward this video to them so they can at least hear the truth from the other side and then, of course, make up their own decisions. If you're still with me, you might as well hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe. I always appreciate it when you tune in and hear what I have to say. It is my pleasure to have a conversation with you each and every time. I always say, keep that mind free, never give up. And until next time, my friends, I am J.R. Dukes.